Welcome to Speaking of Schaumburg. I'm Village President Al Larson. In this episode, we'll be talking with Kathy Ahlgrim and Bill Kelley from the Memorial Day Planning Committee. Then we'll talk to Dave Chase from the Schaumburg Boomers. We'll close out the program by talking with Roxane Benvenuti about the Prairie Arts Fest. All this and more today here on Speaking of Schaumburg. Memorial Day is a day where we honor those who have died and have served our country in the armed forces. Kathy Ahlgrim, co-chair, and Bill Kelley, co-chair, will tell us about how Schaumburg and Hoffman Estates honor those who have fallen.
Thank you.
Kathy, Bill.
Thank you, Mayor. So good to be here.
How long have you been doing this?
Well, the Rotary Club has been supporting this for a number of years. As president of the Schaumburg Hoffman Estates Rotary Club this year, I have the honor of being the master of ceremonies for the Memorial Day observance.
Okay, and you kind of move things along?
Sure.
Okay. That's a short answer, Bill. Kathy, what is your role?
My role as a co-chair, I have been part of the Memorial Day celebration commemoration since I was with Rotary. We've been pretty involved in it. And last year, John Salke had asked me to join him. John Salke has been the chair for many, many years, and he is the person that actually puts most of this together. Fortunately, he has quite a way about him and is able to make it all easy for us to follow along and look good.
You're saying that he's a drill sergeant, is that correct?
Yeah, not so horribly like that, but he's very organized, and
yes, he is.
He knows what needs to be done, and he knows the people that can make it happen, and so he is the reason that this is such a successful commemoration.
Have you guys served in the armed forces at all?
I have not.
And I have not either, though I admire and respect everyone who has.
Oh, sure. And you said John Salke is the driving force behind getting everybody there on time?
He is, and he has been in the military, so I think that there is a passion for that reason that he understands and probably has been involved in a lot of situations where he realizes, not as we do too, all the service that these people have done for us.
So when does this take place on Memorial Day?
Memorial Day, I believe it's May 26th of...
29th.
29th.
Mm-hmm.
The service actually begins in Hoffman Estates with a ceremony and proceeds to St. Peter's Lutheran Church on Schaumburg Road. And that portion begins at 10:45 a.m.
What kind of turnout do you expect?
There's usually 400 or 500 people there.
At least, yes. The church is full, sure. And they have an area that it starts outside by the cemetery, mm-hmm. And they do a part of the ceremony there, and then they process into church, and then there's another. That's where the music and the prayers that are part of this program, that's when that takes place. And so the church is full, and they have another side room that's full that they usually have a TV playing so that the folks who can't actually see in the church can actually be part of it as well. And
there's some music going.
Yes.
Well, both the Spring Valley Band and the Chorals Ensemble just provide some beautiful, beautiful music in tribute to our fallen soldiers and those who've passed away from our community who have served our country.
There's a roll call too, isn't there?
Yes, there is.
There is. It's a very, very touching roll call where they ring a bell for every one ring for every former service member who has passed away during the past year. So it's incredibly touching.
Yeah.
Whether it be from World War II or Korea or the Vietnam War, Desert Storm, Iraq, Afghanistan.
And the list goes on.
It continues to go on, yes.
Well, I think it's really generous of St. Peter to provide the location for this annual event.
Oh, and it's such an historic setting for Schaumburg. We have the church goes back there till the 1800s, and in fact, the ceremony actually begins in the cemetery with a 21-gun salute, and it's very, very fitting. So it's absolutely.
It was 1863, I think, was the church was put up.
Yeah, I believe because President Abraham Lincoln was the one who I thought made it a day of observance.
Yeah. Well, it certainly is a solemn occasion And I think, you're right, it's very touching. So, when they ring the bell, and I suspect there are folks out there who have a real close connection to some of the folks who have passed away.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So you have relatives, I suspect, who probably served. I mean, how could Kelley and Kelley?
Sure. Well, I very much remember when my father, who passed away 8 years ago, and he served during the Korea War. He served here at stateside, and I remember when his name was called. Absolutely. So yeah, it's very touching.
One of the parts that we are, I think, proud of is that we have a segment where we're going to have a PowerPoint, and that is going to just give us time to reflect while there's some music playing and show the different sites of where many people are buried. A lot of us don't realize, even in Europe, how many American soldiers are buried in Europe. And this PowerPoint will open up the eyes, I think, to a lot of people. It's a very well done PowerPoint.
The committee spent a lot of time, and there's the Schaumburg Township Library, and the village has staff, very dedicated professional staff, spent a lot of time to put together this video presentation.
How many people in your committee?
There's over a dozen members of the committee.
Right, I would say a dozen.
It helps quite a bit, doesn't it?
It does, to get different points of view and think of different ideas.
My counterpart in Hoffman Estates, Bill McLeod, will be there.
Yes.
Add his remarks to this ceremony. And
Yes.
I think I'll dig out some old remarks of mine and put them out there too.
Well, I think it's absolutely wonderful that the villages of Schaumburg and Hoffman Estates get together and have gotten together for over 20 years to honor our fallen soldiers. It's a very fitting. The community is so well connected, and it's such a great way to get together to honor those who have passed in service to our country.
There used to be a motorcycle contingent at one point. Is that something
I do remember that now.
Be thinking that doing that again, or is that?
I don't know. That's a good question. Yeah. I had forgotten until you just mentioned that, but I do remember that used to be.
And they may follow the flag from Hoffman Estates to Schaumburg. So I don't know whether that's going to be a part of that.
I don't know.
Okay. Doesn't John share that with you?
He probably assumes we know that.
Well, I'm looking forward to that day, and hopefully we'll get. I remember the beginning of this ceremony adapted from St. Peter, sitting on those bleachers overlooking the flagpole, and just roasting to death because of the weather. But here we got the inside. You can.
Which is very nice. You're right, because we used to be pretty much dependent on the weather, and it could be an easy time or it could be a tough day. And it's so generous of St. Peter's to allow us to use their church for the services, because then we're guaranteed that it'll be fine every year.
Absolutely. Bill?
Thank you so much, Mayor.
It's been an honor. Thank you very much.
Yeah. An honor, my heavens.
It is.
Grab your mitts and plan for a fun season of baseball. Next, here on Speaking of Schaumburg. The Schaumburg Boomers are warming up for their upcoming season. To tell us more about it is David Chase, General Manager, Schaumburg Boomers. Well, Dave, welcome to Speaking of Schaumburg.
Thank you very much.
What does a general manager do for a baseball team like the Boomers?
What doesn't he do, first of all? Does about everything.
Okay.
Primarily oversee the business operation, the Boomer side of operating the ballpark, a relationship with the players, with the field manager, with the community in general, and manage a daily staff of about a dozen people.
How long have you been doing this?
40 years. This is my 40th season in minor league baseball.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Oh, strictly minor league or?
Almost always minor league. Sometime on the media side, I was the publisher and president of Baseball America magazine for 18 and a half years, but most of it has been running baseball teams.
Okay, all right. What team did you operate prior to Boomers?
Prior to coming here, I was the general manager of the Sussex County Miners, another independent team in the Can-Am League, which is northern New Jersey. We have 3 teams in Canada and 3 in the U.S.
Oh my. There's an awful lot of small town baseball, isn't there?
There are about 160 affiliated minor league teams, and then there are about 70, 75 independent teams.
Okay, I would imagine that the Major League Baseball keeps an eye on the talent that you guys bring up.
Ballpark every day. Every day we're home. There are usually scouts in the stands looking for players. It's all about player development for the major leagues. They want to win in the big league cities. And the best way to do that is to keep the pipeline filled in their minor league system.
Yeah. Now, what's the difference between an affiliated team and a non-affiliated team?
Bank account is one of the biggies.
Okay.
Affiliated teams, the local team has no responsibility for paying the players, hiring the players, none of those kinds of things. Independent baseball, we're responsible for all of that, from workers' comp to salaries to scouting to actually playing the games. So the affiliated teams, slightly different mission, primarily running the ballpark, doing promotions, and making sure that the team gets from point A to point B for road trips.
Did you play baseball when you were growing up?
I played very badly, very poorly in high school. But in high school, my high school baseball coach was a veteran for many, many years in all levels of baseball. And he saw that I had a passion for the game. Sure. And he suggested that maybe I look at working on the business side. And that started just a few years after that.
What kind of team the Boomers have this year?
Talking to the manager, Jamie Bennett has been with us since the beginning. Every manager this time of year tells you you're going to win the playoffs. You're going to be in the playoffs. Sure. And he's been telling me that for the last month. But we do have a lot of returning players with a sprinkling of some new, younger players that Jamie's pretty confident in. Of course, at this level of baseball, it's all about pitching. You never have enough. Right now, Jamie's feeling pretty good. The team is working out, starting working out today.
How many players have you sent up?
The Boomers have sent up as into the affiliated baseball. Relatively few. It does happen. Usually players that get drafted or signed by affiliated teams from our level are filling our role players in the minor leagues. Major League Baseball does such an amazing job of scouting. Not too many players fall through the cracks. Yeah. So for someone to come out of our ranks and climb all the way to the major leagues would be a significant story. And 5 years in, we haven't had that happen.
Really? I thought we had some good pitching there for a while.
We've had some good pitching. We won 2 championships in the last few years, which, and I mentioned this is my 40th season in baseball. Coming into this year, I've had 2 championships. So the fact that the Boomers have had 2 in a very short period of time is pretty amazing.
This is kind of a gypsy thing, too, isn't it? I mean, don't you?
Players or?
Both.
Well, I guess it can be. I was in Durham, North Carolina for 18 and a half years, Sussex County, New Jersey for 2 years. So it's sort of the gamut, if you can do that. And the players are constantly wanting to move up. If they're with affiliated baseball teams, it's not uncommon for a player to play at 3 or 4 different levels in the same season. So there is a sort of nomadic lifestyle that you do live for. And they're all living for that call from a major league team that says be here, and it's always be here
the show
tomorrow. The show is, they call it, absolutely.
Yeah. So you like what you're doing, I would imagine.
After 40 years, I have no choice. I have to like it. Right? I love it. I love going to the ballpark every day. And it's not so much the winning and losing, the runs, hits, errors. The game of baseball to me is so, I'm sort of a historian of the game. I taught a course at the University of Memphis on the history of baseball, is that I see baseball as intertwined in the fabric of our country, unlike any other sport. Baseball is the thing that brings us together, communities and generations.
Now, baseball changes a little bit too, doesn't it? From like there's a DH now, you know.
Yeah, baseball purists like to say the game has not changed. Well, that's on the face of it is silly. We have DHs, we have better ballparks, we have better lighting, better athletes, better transportation. You
can't use a spitter anymore.
Well, you can use it. You just don't want to get caught, I guess. Don't get caught. We have, personally, I feel like we've legalized the game, more rules, more do-nots, and we're in an era of that. That's happening every couple of years. The game doesn't need that.
The mound goes up and down?
The mound, now, Mayor, we're going to be dating ourselves here. The last time the mound really changed, was 1969. It really hasn't changed much since then. Yeah. But some of the mechanics, we always talked about the game of baseball doesn't have a clock. The clock is the innings. Well, we now have clocks. Timing between pitches, between innings.
Okay, that's right. I didn't think about that, yeah. But I always thought, baseball is timeless,
If you can score enough runs in the bottom of the ninth, you can go forever.
Exactly.
Now, to me, that's the beauty of the game. But what I really like about the game is it just brings people together. There aren't many other things today that can. Technology separates us. Music separates us. But the game of baseball, I was at a ballpark years ago when I was at Baseball America. Every summer I take a 10-day trip. And my only rule was I ended every night at a ballpark. And one night I was in Syracuse, New York, AAA ballpark, basically empty. But sitting in front of me were 3 or 4 generations. seem to be the same family. They talked baseball for 3 hours, from a 12-year-old to someone in the 70s. What else could they talk about? Family stories, they've all heard those too many times, they're not interested. But baseball was that common, that bond that brought them together for those 3 hours, and I think that's unique to baseball.
Who's the best baseball player that ever lived?
That's really a tough one. My favorite of all time is Willie Mays. I thought he could do everything. He could run, he could hit, was a great defender.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised that you didn't say Babe Ruth,
Well, Babe Ruth couldn't do half the things that Willie Mays could do.
Willie Mays couldn't pitch,
He didn't pitch. Well, we don't know that he couldn't. We just know he didn't. But yeah, Babe. I never saw Babe Ruth. I saw Willie Mays.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
So Willie Mays would be my choice.
How about Ty Cobb?
Ty Cobb is really fascinating because his history is going through.
Mean as a snake,
Well, his history is going through a revisionist period right now.
Okay.
There were some early biographies that made him to be this person we all wouldn't really like.
Yeah.
He was a racist. He was violent. He was vicious.
Sharpening his cleats.
Yeah. Well, now we're beginning to find out that those stories really probably weren't true. So we're going through this revisionist period. There are 2 new biographies on Ty Cobb.
So he never beat up that little old lady in a wheelchair?
Ladies, didn't back over people trying to cross the street, didn't do any of those things. So we're beginning to find out what's the real truth of Ty Cobb. Amazing baseball player.
Oh yeah.
But then Pete Rose is an amazing baseball player, but he's not in the Hall of Fame. May never be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Ty Cobb is, and some people say for a long time they felt that Ty Cobb shouldn't be there because of his alleged reputation.
How about the
Shoeless Joe Jackson?
Yeah.
I think he should be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
I think he was caught up in circumstances. And I lived in South Carolina for a while.
Sounded like he batted like 400 and something in a
He's got and if you look at the game of baseball, some of its best players aren't in the Hall of Fame. Joe Jackson with an amazing career batting average, not there. Pete Rose, the all-time hits leader, not there. Barry Bonds, the all-time home run leader, not there. Roger Clemens, one of the greatest pitchers of all time, not there. All because of events outside playing the game of baseball.
Yeah.
It's a pretty interesting place where the Hall of Fame is now.
What's your favorite baseball team?
The New York Mets.
New York Mets?
I grew up in New York.
Oh.
I remember 1969 very well. I was in.
It broke my heart in 1969.
I'm sure it did, but it made me feel pretty. I was in high school and I grew up in a small town, and I would get off the school bus and ride my bike to the post
Does Salvi
office.
know that you?
I don't know if Salvi knows that. He hasn't asked me that question. But at the small town, I'd be riding from the post office back home after school, and the families along the way would be yelling out the score of the World Series games because they were on the daytime then.
Yeah.
And they knew that I was Mr. Baseball.
Yeah.
And they knew I was a big Mets fan. So I stayed connected to the game the whole time.
I'll shake your head even though you're a Mets fan.
Ron Santo and Dick Selma and all those
Yeah.
guys.
Oh yeah. The Village of Schaumburg is ready to help kick off your summer with fun for the whole family. Learn more next here on Speaking of Schaumburg. Celebrating its 30th year, Schaumburg's Prairie Arts Festival brings together artists of all ages, food vendors, children's activities, entertainment, and more. Here to tell us about it is Special Events Coordinator Roxane Benvenuti.
Hello, welcome.
Welcome.
30th anniversary.
30th.
Here we are, 30 years of celebrating the arts.
Have you been doing this for 30 years?
Not quite.
Not quite.
Not quite.
What were you doing before this?
Well, I've been here about 26 years, but before that I was over at the Teen Center.
Okay. And then you kind of grew out of being the teen center person and came over here?
And so now working with all these fine artists.
How has it changed?
We get different people obviously applying every year, and also the old favorites that come back every year.
How many are applying this year?
This year we have nearly 125 artists, and several of them have more than one space. So a couple of them are going to have a double space instead of one. So
Yeah. We have folks who come back here every year.
yeah, we have some that come. They do our show every year, and then we have new ones every year as well. So we really like to focus on the painting, photography, sculpture, A lot of jewelry, of course.
Did you focus on the pain?
The painting. Yeah, no. It's a quite lovely event and a great way to spend your weekend. Pain-free, shopping for art.
That's because he can't shop for himself.
Yes.
So tell us about some of the notables.
Well, there's returning artists, but new ones. So you definitely need to come out and spend the afternoon and see everybody. And it's a great place to buy something for yourself or your home or your office, or maybe a special gift from someone. Right now it's big graduation season and weddings, so there's plenty of gifts that can be bought, unique gifts that can be purchased at the Prairie Arts Festival.
What are some of the unique artists who've displayed their works?
Oh, so many different types of painting, watercolor, oil, acrylic, different types of painting, and then glass. There's blown glass and
jewelry,
fiber. You're going to find a lot of different jewelry. Jewelry is quite popular in the art shows these days. We have that really good mix of
food trucks.
Media. Yes, because you can definitely spend the day, because we will be able to feed you with our food trucks. We have a big variety.
How many this year?
We have 6 food trucks and a couple of food vendors. So you're going to find this year, we have a barbecue truck and Giordano's Pizza. And returning, we have Toasty Cheese and Pico Street Kitchen is like an Asian type food. And you're also going to find your ice cream and your cupcakes. We have our youth orchestra does a fundraiser by selling hot pretzels. And our Prairie Arts Foundation does a fundraiser by selling beer and wine and water. So you can just get a snack and shop with your ice cream cone or your little treat, or you can actually just have a really big lunch too.
So you recommend eating a lot?
The food trucks are quite good, yes. We love them because they're self-contained. It's a nice, clean line of food choices and a big variety too. So you're going to find
and music too.
More than just
music. You have
3 areas of entertainment that you can. So as you're strolling through the grounds, we like to have atmosphere type music. So as you're strolling through, you're always going to hear nice music, but you can also certainly purchase your lunch and sit down right in front of one of the musicians and enjoy the music while you have the artists around you and eat. So you can do all of that. So
and Louis and Serena.
Yes, and that's the time when their little signets are being born, so people might get a peek at them depending on the year. Sometimes they're born right before Arts Fest and sometimes right after, so it's a surprise. You have to come and find out if they were born yet.
Yeah.
But people love that.
As many as 6 or 7 signets.
Right, and it's such a beautiful setting. It really is. We're really fortunate to have such a lovely setting for an art show with the pond and the swans and in the music and different types of music too. Jazz, folk, guitar. We have a dueling piano group this year.
Dueling pianos?
Yeah, they have like little, more like a keyboard because it's outside. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. Different types of music. So different types of food, different types of music.
What's your favorite art venue?
I like to see the different types of art, and kind of like in conjunction with the Prairie Arts Fest. Before it, we have an event that's going on right now called the Prairie Plein Air Competition, and it's an opportunity for painters and artists who do drawing to go out into Schaumburg and paint or draw somewhere in the boundaries of Schaumburg, and then they come back and display their piece in the gallery. And this event was the idea of former artists, brought it to us to give it a try. And every year it's gotten a little bigger and more people involved. We have 51 artists this year, and I think it's so fun to see.
How many?
51.
51.
So,
wow.
and in a couple of them,
when you first started this, you only had a handful.
Yeah, it gets very popular, and some of the artists participate in the Prairie Arts Festival as well. Some just do the little competition, but it's fun for everyone in the office to see the paintings come back, and we get to see Schaumburg through the eyes of various artists. And those pieces get hung up in the gallery from mid-May through June, so about 6 weeks. People can stop by and see those paintings, and while they're visiting the Prairie Arts Festival, when they come inside the gallery, they can view those pieces that are also for sale for purchase. So it's really fun to see those artists. paint somewhere in Schaumburg.
Obviously, you had artists there who've been there from almost from the very beginning. So who's got the longevity? Who's
Oh my gosh, you want me to name names?
Sure, I do.
There's a couple. Well, there's a couple that pop into mind. A jeweler, Venus Kramer, she's been in for a really long time. We have photographer Jim Rasmussen, an artist by the name of John Challen does metalwork. I don't like naming names because I always feel like I'm going to leave someone out. But there's quite a few.
Except that the ones you're naming are those who
they've been doing it for a very long time,
yes.
And been a staple part of our show. And they have their customers that come find them every year, rain or shine, doesn't matter. They know where they're going to be, and they like to purchase from them.
You have that kind of loyalty.
And then we have those new ones that come in to kind of spice it up a little bit, get that something new, and seeing a couple younger artists come in. I mean, we've had a couple that are just finishing high school who are very, very good painters.
Watercolor or oil or
yeah, mix,
acrylic?
All of it, both. Some of them actually do more than one media or mixed media. So it's really nice. You can't just talk about it. You have to come and check it out for yourself because it's just a great opportunity. It's a great day to just spend the day viewing the art, having something to eat, taking in the landscaping and the music, and it's really quite lovely.
Checking out the swans.
Yeah, so it's from 10 to 5 both days, so you could have lunch and dinner here if you want to.
Yeah.
Really spend the day. And some people come both days because they look at what they want to buy, and then they think about it overnight, and then they come back the next day and make their purchases if they can fit it into their weekend.
You have purchase awards too, don't you?
Well, it's an opportunity for individuals and businesses just to pledge in advance that they're definitely going to buy something from our show. And then as a thank you and recognition, we make a certificate and we give it to them to present to the artist when they make their purchase, and it hangs in their booth.
And a ribbon.
And a ribbon.
Yeah.
So it's nice for the artist because if somebody buys something on Saturday, especially earlier in the day, then it's going to hang in there all weekend, announcing that someone who pledged to spend money at the show spent it in their booth. And if it's a business, they get their name, advertised in the booth, and we also list them in our program, which gets inserted into the Daily Herald. So people will see that.
Thanks for coming by.
Yeah, always. Love to come.
Okay. That'll do it for this edition of Speaking of Schaumburg. Tune in next month for all new episode. Until then, I'll see you around town.